Good afternoon, everyone, and how are you today? I hope you are all healthy, in a good condition, and safe through this
Good
pandemic.
afternoon, everyone.
My name is
And how are you today?
and for your information,
I
I'm
hope
an
you are
alumni
all
from
healthy,
Geothermal
in a
Engineering
good
Master Program
condition, and
Institute
safe
Teknologi
through
Bandung.
this Good afternoon,
pandemic. I'm
everyone.
glad to have a
And how
chance
are
to
you
be your
today?
host
And
for
for
this
your
special
information,
occasion.
I'm an
As an alumni
alumni
from
from
Geothermal Engineering
Life
Master Program
Foundation
Institute.
Institute
We are pleased to
Teknologi
welcome
Bandung.
you
Good
to the
afternoon,
opening
everyone.
ceremony of
And
next
how are you
ITB
today? For
International
your
Geothermal
information, I'm
Workshop
an alumni
2020.
from Life
Master
Foundation
Program
Institute.
Special this year, welcome you to the opening ceremony of
Previously
next
postponed
ITB
event has been
International
modified
Geothermal Workshop
to an
2020.
online-based event.
Special this
This
year,
event
welcome
will
you to the
cover
opening ceremony of
previously
next
postponed
ITB
practice and will be
International
delivered by
Workshop
our
2020.
selected presenters.
Event. Special
We
this
are
year,
proud to present
the
the
opening
key of
ceremony of
previously
next
postponed
ITB
practice and will be
advancing
delivered by
the
our
prospective
selected
and
presenters.
utilization of national
We
geothermal
are proud
software
to present
through
the
best
key of
practice
previously
management,
postponed practice
investment,
and will be
advanced
delivered
and
by our
technology
selected
and
presenters.
utilization.
This
Of
special
national
event
geothermal
is
software
organized by
through best practice
Geothermal
engineering
Engineering
master program,
Investment
Institute
and
Teknologi
by
Bandung.
our
Technology
selected
and
presenters.
utilization. To all the
This
participants,
special event
I would
is
like to remind
organized
you
by
that this is
Geothermal
engineering master
Engineering
program
throughout
Institute
2020
Teknologi
and by
Bandung
our
until
selected
August 13th, to all the
presenters. This
participants.
special event
I would
is
like to
as
remind
per
you
today's
that this
agenda,
engineering
three main
master
events
program
coming to you.
Institute
First,
Teknologi until
Geothermal
August 13th, to all the
Then we
participants.
proceed to the
I would like
presentation
to
by our
remind
first
today's
invited
agenda,
speaker,
three main
Andi
events
Blair,
coming to you.
and then we proceed
Until
into
August
the main
13th,
event,
to all the
then we
participants.
proceed to the
I would like
presentation
to
by our
remind
first
today's
invited
agenda,
participant,
three main
Andi
events
Blair,
coming to you.
participant
And then we
attendee,
proceed
that
into
until
the
the
main
all the
event, to all the
participant that covered
participants.
today. The link will be provided to you through the chat box during the event, so make sure you check your chat box. And at the end of the day, link for certificate will be shared to you through the chat box. So make sure you check your chat box at the end of the day. Link for certificate will be honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will sing the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will sing the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will sing the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will sing the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will sing the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will sing the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will sing the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia. Honorable guests, Indonesia, sanalah aku berdiri jadi pandu hidup. Indonesia aku berdiri jadi bangsa dan tanah air. Indonesia mari berdiri jadi bangsa dan Indonesia. Indonesia mari berdiri jadi bangsa dan Indonesia. Bangsa Indonesia mari berdiri jadi bangsa Indonesia. Bangsa Indonesia untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya merdeka untuk tanahku negeriku yang kucinta. Indonesia Raya merdeka hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya merdeka merdeka tanahku negeriku yang kucinta. Indonesia Raya merdeka merdeka hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Proceeding with today's special event, and without any further ado,
We would like to invite Ibu Suryantini as our chairman to present her welcoming remark. Ibu Suryantini, the time is yours.
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 9th ITB International Geothermal Workshop. It is my privilege to address you, honorable guests, on behalf of the Committee of 9th ITB International Geothermal Workshop. Unlike previous years, this year's workshop is very special because it coincides with ITB 100 years anniversary. Happy anniversary, ITB. This year workshop is also very unique. Workshop because it is held as a webinar or a virtual workshop. This is due to COVID-19 pandemic, which does not allow us to meet in a non-virtual manner. Even though the Geothermal Master Program ITB and the 9th ITB Geothermal Workshop Committee have a strong commitment to continue to carry out workshop and disseminate geothermal information in science, technology, and social environmental topics. So this webinar is conducted. The theme of this year's workshop is advancing the prospecting and utilization of national geothermal sector through best practice management, investment, and technology. This event will be held in 4 days, starting today, Monday, August the 10th, until Thursday, August the 13th. Every day we will start from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. Jakarta time. So don't miss your time. Due to limited time, unfortunately, we cannot deliver all the plenary session. Most of the presentation are technical presentation from authors and invited speakers. I would like to thank to Indonesian Geothermal Association and International Geothermal Association who endorsed this event. President of INAGA and President of IGA today are together with us for opening ceremony. Thank you, Pak Priyandaru. Thank you, Andy. And apart from that, I also express my gratitude to all agencies and sponsors who have supported this event. We hope that all of you can get benefit from this workshop. In this special occasion, I also would like to acknowledge important people and particular parties who make this event possible. First of all, I introduce workshop committee as shown in this slide. They have worked very hard, great effort, and have done excellent work. Thank you, committee. They are students, alumni, staffs, and lecturers of Geothermal Study Program. There are also supports to this workshop that contribute significant financial to realize the idea. I would like to acknowledge our sponsor as shown in this slide. As you can read here, we have Sustraco, we have Geodipa Energy, Scientific Drilling, Pertamina, Tunggal Buana Utama, Star Energy, Supreme Energy, Bank Negara Indonesia, SMI, Kogindo, and Tunas, Andalan Tunas Mandiri. I'm sorry, the small one I cannot hear, but I hope it's clear enough for the audience. Apart from the sponsor, we also received endorsement from International Geothermal Association and Indonesian Geothermal Association. I also thank for support from Indonesian Geology Association or IAGI. We thank also to our media partners as seen in the slide. We have Think Geoenergy, we have IIGCE, we have Geothermal Resource Council, Pabum News, Matrok Media, and Rambu. Thank you for media partner who promoting this event and great effort to make the event success. Now I'm going to show you some interesting fact and statistic related to this event. We are very surprised and also happy to announce that the registration committee has received more than 1,430 registrants or participants from around the world. And it's still increasing. Thank you for all your enthusiasm. The next, about the abstract. Originally, the committee received 149 abstracts from 6 countries. Out of 149 abstracts, unfortunately, only 136 are accepted and the 13 abstracts are rejected. From 136 accepted abstracts, only 68 full papers are submitted by the authors. And out of 68, unfortunately, 6 papers are withdrawn. So it remains only 62 full papers accepted. From the 62 full paper, we select 47 papers for oral presentation and 15 papers for poster presentation. And due to limited of time, we are very apologize for not giving all oral presentation, and only 22 papers are selected for presentation, and it will be delivered during 4-day technical session. Last but not least, I would like to thank again to all guests, honorable guests, participants for coming to this workshop and for your enthusiasm, because without your participation, this workshop will not be succeed. And I wish you have a fruitful discussion, stay safe and health. Thank you for your attention. The next, I would like to invite our honorable guest and also Chairman of Indonesian Geothermal Association, Mr. Priyandaru Effendi, who will give welcoming speech in this opening ceremony. Pak Priyandaru is the Chairman of Indonesian Geothermal Association for the period of 2017 until 2020. He is also active in Indonesian Renewable Energy Society or METI. In his daily life, he also served as Executive Vice President of Relation and Support Services in Supreme Energy. His background is a petroleum engineering. He got his degree from Trisakti University in Indonesia and received his master degree from Tulsa University, Oklahoma, USA. Pak Priyandaru, please welcome. The time is yours, and I thank you very much for your time. Please welcome Pak Priyandaru.
Thank you, Bu Nini, for the nice introduction. My Honorable Dekanat FTTM ITB or his representative, Dekanat FITB ITB or his representative, Indonesia academician, geothermal developers, all sponsors, Chairman of IGA, Ibu Andy Blair, Chairman of Convention, Ibu Nini Suryatini, member associations, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. My name, as introduced by Ibu Nini, my name is Priyandaru Effendi, and I am the Chairman of Indonesian Geothermal Association, period 2017 until 2020. So this year will be my last serve as a Indonesian Geothermal Association President. It is a pleasure for me to be here, and thank you for the invite as a speaker to deliver a speech on Indonesia geothermal development. The ITB International Geothermal Workshop, or IIGW 2020, is once again conducted this year. It is an annual event and intended to share the information of geothermal development progress in Indonesia and will be held from August 10th until 13, 2020. The series of presentations covering the various topics in geothermal practice, such as geothermal exploration, engineering, economy and policy, direct use, and environmental issues are lined up for the discussions. Of course, the industry is expecting a fruitful outcome from this event and hoping the recommendation would be implementable to help the Indonesia geothermal development to move faster, to catch up the target as stated in the National Energy Policy, or in Bahasa Indonesia, we call it Kebijakan Energi Nasional. This year's event was originally planned, as mentioned by Ibu Nini, to be conducted in March this year, but due to unexpected spreading of COVID-19 pandemic in the beginning of 2020, the event was scheduled to today in a new form by using a virtual technology. The COVID-19 presence not only affected this workshop schedule, but also in many human activities globally. To date, close to 20 million people has been infected, and infected globally, and more than 100,000 people in Indonesia is also infected. Let's pray that this pandemic will get over soon to let the activities back to normal. The development of geothermal energy in Indonesia in the last few years is still less encouraging. Until now, the government, supported by the association, is still not able to offer a strategic solution to overcome the geothermal investor challenges, which is mainly dealing with a pricing issue that corresponds to the project economics and certainty of the regulations. The geothermal pricing policy has been an unresolved major issue in Indonesia geothermal energy development. Even though the energy law stipulates that energy prices shall be determined on the basis of a fair economic value, which is represented by a fair IRR, internal return, to bear the risk taken by the developer, but still the implementation not that simple. It is always benchmarking to PLN's production cost, or in Bahasa we know BPP, biaya produksi, BPP, that is dominated by the usage of coal in the grid. Similarly, frequent changing in the regulation also provide the investment uncertainties and risks to the investor. Despite of the challenges issues that I already mentioned above, last year Indonesia successfully added an installed capacity of 180 megawatt that made the total capacity of the PLTP, the geothermal power plant today, is at the level of 2100 megawatt, and expected additional installed capacity of 140 megawatts to be added before the end of the year. By the end of the year, we should expect the total capacity of Indonesia is at 2270 megawatt. We hope this pandemic will not affect the COD completion. With a sexy potential of geothermal resources in Indonesia, which is estimated around 25,000 megawatt hour, which are currently only about 8% being utilized, Indonesia should be able to beneficial these interacting investors to invest the money in the country. This abundant potential should be the basis to embed with government strategy for the energy security, by promoting more or by using a sustainable energy base, as well as the commitment to reduce emission resulted from the extraction of carbon dioxide that is generated from energy that is not environmentally friendly. To succeed with the mission on energy security by optimizing the utilization of renewable energy, in this case, of course, the geothermal energy, pricing strategy is the most important key element in the geothermal business. PLN as a single buyer shall not be expected or forced to purchase the geothermal electricity more than their affordability without government's intervention. So cannot live to business. PLN should not be held accountable for the higher price and should be compensated for mass intervention. Since pricing is a strategic decision of government to promote the geothermal energy, therefore government will have to present to pick up the difference between investors' expected return and PLN's affordability. Geothermal, as we know, is a high-risk business in nature, especially during the exploration phase. Chance for success is only 50%. This is why developments require premium to cover the exploration risk. Government understands very well the issue. Supported by association, government currently is initiating the issuance of presidential decree on renewable energy to address the investors' demand on acceptable pricing strategy and regulation breakthrough. This is the way government's mission to keep investors' appetite to keep attracted to invest and develop geothermal in Indonesia. We hope this presidential decree will be promptly laid off and acceptable to the investors. I guess that's all from me. Let us support the success of this IIGW 2020 event with a mission to continue to advance the Indonesia geothermal industry starting today. Thank you for your attention and have a wonderful convention and workshop. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ibu Suryantini, for astonishing remark and Bapak Priyandaru Effendi for the opening speech. Before we proceed to the next event, we want to apologize for the previous technical issue. We hope that you're still excited to the interesting following events. Now, we are cordially inviting Bapak Sutopo as the head of Geothermal Engineering Master Program, Institut Teknologi Bandung, to symbolically open the 9th ITB International Geothermal Workshop 2020 with the sound of gong accompanied by Ibu Suryantini and Bapak Priyandaru.
Thank you, Ayu. Ladies and gentlemen, hereby the ITB International Geothermal Workshop 2020 officially begin. We hope you enjoy this event. Thank you. Geothermal Workshop 2020 officially this event. Thank you. Geothermal Workshop.
This is the ITB International Geothermal Workshop.
Thank you.
This is the platform for everyone who concerns. This is the ITB International Geothermal Workshop, willing to connect and to share. This is the platform for everyone who concerns. This knowledge, ITB opportunity, experience. This is our contribution to the future. Renewable energy is the future. It's been a journey since 2012. And this platform is nothing without your contribution. Thank you for your participation. And welcome to the 9th ITB International Geothermal Workshop.
As the gong strike, now the 9th ITB International Geothermal Workshop 2020 is officially begin. Before we proceed to the main event, there will be a photo session. So I would like to invite Bapak Priyandaru Effendi, Ibu Suryantini, and Bapak Sutopo to activate your video. Don't forget to put your best smile, and the photo will be taken in about 3, 2, 1, and smile. Okay, thank you Bapak Priyandaru, Ibu Suryantini, and Bapak Sutopo for your time. Now we are at the end of the opening ceremony. Our following program is technical paper presentation that will be moderated by Bapak Dimas Taha Maulana. For your information, Bapak Dimas Taha Maulana is a lecturer and one of alumni from Geothermal Engineering Master Program, Institut Teknologi Bandung. Bapak Dimas Taha Maulana, the time is yours.
Thank you, Bu Ayu. Very interesting opening. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As introduced before, my name is Dimas Taha Maulana, and I will be as a chairperson or moderator for the next session, which is a technical session or paper presentation. Today, at the first day, we have one invited speaker and also 5 paper presentation. Before we start the paper presentation, I would like to invite all of the invited speaker and presenter, which are the first is Miss Andrea Blair. Please turn on your camera. Hello, Miss Andy Blair.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Okay, and the second is Pak Permadi. Please turn on your video or camera. And then Pak Eric Firanda. Please turn on your camera. And then Pak Ricky. Hello, Pak
Good
Eric.
afternoon, Mr.
How are you?
Dimas.
Good afternoon.
Good. Thank you.
Pak Ricky, please turn on your camera, Pak Ricky. Because of it, we will take a picture together. Pak Eric, please turn on your video. Yeah, thank you. And then Pak Praja, are you with us, Pak Praja? Please turn on your video. Hello, Pak Praja. And then Mbak Mona, are you with us, Mbak Mona? Can you please turn on your camera or video? Yeah, Mbak Mona is with us. And then Mas Riki and Mas Praja, maybe cannot join. Okay, is it okay? Maybe after the paper presentation, we can take a picture together again. Okay, please the committee take a shot. 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay, thank you. Okay, we will start with our invited speaker, which is Miss Andy Blair or Miss Andrea Blair. She is, what do you call it, president or director of Wing.
Yes,
Woman in
I am
Geothermal.
the ex global chair of Wing, so I have handed that torch over. So
Okay, Miss Andrea Blair will talk about geothermal utilization in New Zealand, right? Yeah, we know that geothermal, besides for electricity utilization, geothermal has a very high potential for especially directly use. So today we will discuss, we will hear from Andy, her experience, especially in New Zealand. So before it started, Miss Andy, I will I will inform the audience the simple rules of this presentation. Miss Andy will present about 50 minutes. Is it enough, Miss Andy?
I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And then we will have just 5 minutes, I'm sorry, for discussion, maybe 1 or 2 questions. And then for all of you, all participants, you can write your question at the question and answer button at your Zoom screen, and also at the YouTube our YouTube channel. You can give your question at the comment, and then I will choose 1 or 2, and I will read it for Miss Andy. Okay, Miss Andy, I think you can start your presentation.
Great. Thank you. E ngā mana, e ngā iwi, ka huri ngā mihi kia koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andy Blair, and I am the director of a company called Upflow in New Zealand, which is a geothermal science research and consultancy business. And I am the new president of the International Geothermal Association. So I appreciate your support during my time as president. And I'm privileged to serve you all in our global push towards more geothermal. Good afternoon to you all and all of my friends and colleagues in Indonesia. I've always experienced fantastic hospitality every time I've visited. So it's a shame I can't be there in person, but I'm very pleased that during this crazy time, we can still connect through this virtual event. So congratulations to the organising committee for organising this event. So my talk today is focusing on how the people of New Zealand are benefiting from geothermal energy, and specifically our Indigenous peoples, Māori. Next, please. So this is a whakatauki, which in Māori is a saying, which is hei kai kei aku ringa, which means there's food at the ends of my hands. And what that means is we should all use our abilities and the resources around us to ensure that we are prosperous. So we should look to our resources, which are our people and our environment, and create prosperity for all of us. Next, please. So the Indigenous peoples of New Zealand are called Māori. They are what's called tangata whenua, the people of the land. And Māori have a social structure which is based around tribe, iwi, sub-tribe, hapu, and whānau, which is family. Next, please. Not too fast. So the people of New Zealand, the Māori, have a very powerful role in society in New Zealand that is recognised in legal and constitutional law. Māori are approximately 16% of the population, and 70% of those people are less than 40 years old. So we have a young Māori population in New Zealand. The Māori economy is very large and strong in New Zealand, and it's estimated to be worth greater than $50 billion. That's New Zealand dollars. So you can see by the small symbols there on the left of the presentation, that demonstrates the asset classes that are owned by Māori organisations in New Zealand. So you can see that there is significant investment in forestry and farming and fishing and other resources. Next, please. So there is a fundamental guiding principle that Māori have, and that's called kaitiakitanga. And what kaitiakitanga is, it basically means guardianship. So Māori believe that it is their purpose in life and their focus is to ensure that they look after the resources, and that is not just water and air and environmental things, but also people for future generations, so that future generations can prosper from the land and resources. Next, please. So in New Zealand, on the left-hand side of this slide, I hope it's the left-hand side for you, is a map of the North Island of New Zealand. And in the close-up, we can see the Taupo volcanic zone. So where all the high temperature geothermal systems are mainly hosted in New Zealand. And in that area, a significant proportion of the land is owned by Māori. This was a natural migration path for Māori in New Zealand. And about 30% of all Māori assets in New Zealand exist within the Taupo volcanic zone. The first use of geothermal energy in New Zealand was by Māori for bathing. No, I haven't finished yet. Need to go back one. Was finished. The first geothermal use in New Zealand was for bathing, spiritual rituals, medicinal, and cooking. And Māori have welcomed visitors to geothermal sites for over 200 years. And that's a long time in New Zealand's history. In New Zealand, we have our geothermal systems have a classification whereby our regulators have deemed them to be available for development or limited development, or they're protected. And they may be protected for reasons such as there is traditional use there for tourism or other reasons that they should not be developed for electricity generation. And what that does is it balances the ways in which communities value geothermal in their lives and their activities. Next, please. So another important thing to consider is that in New Zealand, geothermal consents are based on water take. So it's not mining like some other countries, it's on volumes of fluid, of water. So anybody in New Zealand can get a permit to take water. However, they must have agreement from the landowner to access that fluid on their lands. So this forces an engagement between Māori landowners and developers and creates the opportunity for Māori to participate in geothermal developments in a meaningful way. So most geothermal projects in New Zealand, most fields have commercial arrangements between Māori landowners and generators, and they may also be generators themselves. Such things as fuel supply agreements, royalties, lease agreements, those sorts of things. And there are 4 types of participation that groups can have, and we see this across the world. And you see the little graph at the bottom, the little diagram at the bottom of my presentation slide. There are 4 types of participation. There is consideration, which means that groups that are creating projects consider others and local groups. There is, the next step up is consultation. So developers consult with groups and have discussions. The next one is passive participation, which means that local groups may be beneficiaries from developments, geothermal developments in their region, meaning they get monies or resources. And the highest level of engagement is active participation. And that's where we see local communities and groups being partners in development. And the diagram demonstrates that increasing participation up those levels increases acceptance by local communities for geothermal projects. And in New Zealand, we have across the spectrum of those things, and luckily lots at the top around the active participation space. So next, please. So I just want to talk about one specific group as a case study, a group called Tauhara North No. 2 Trust. And this was a Māori trust that has approximately 800 owners and 9,000 descendants. And their purpose, the trust purpose, is to improve the health and well-being of their peoples and make sure that they are providing for the future generations and being strong kaitiaki. Tauhara North number 2 has significant investment in geothermal electricity generation projects. They are partners with Mercury, formerly Mighty River Power in New Zealand. They own 35% of Ngāawa Parua Power Station, which is a 138 megawatt single shaft, triple flash geothermal turbine from Fuji Electric. And they also have a 50% stake in another power station, Ngā Tamariki and Rotokawa. So they are owners of projects, and they have significant revenue, which they spend millions of dollars every year on well-being programs for their descendants, education grants, health programs, sports and cultural activities, and they are really leaders in Māori participation in geothermal and Indigenous peoples in geothermal projects around the world. And we know that so we have Māori are really active in development roles in geothermal in New Zealand, and especially direct use geothermal, where they are the innovators and at the forefront. And why are they so interested in direct use? Next slide, please. So here is a graph. I apologize if that's really small writing. Here is a table which outlines a few of the large industrial geothermal direct use projects in New Zealand. And on the left-hand side is the name of the project and description of the activity, what they do there, the size of the operation, how much energy is used. And then at the very right of the table, we see a number there, FTE, full-time equivalent. So we can see that those are significant numbers. So in New Zealand, we know that industrial direct use projects have significant impact on employment wherever they are. And the majority, actually all of these projects are located in very small towns of Taupo is 40,000 people or less, with high percentage Māori populations. So these projects are supporting rural small communities and significantly increasing prosperity for Māori communities. We know that geothermal direct use projects are good for employment, and the majority of our projects are brownfield projects whereby the cost to access the fluid is done first by electricity generation projects. So next, please. So we want to drive more investment in direct use projects in New Zealand. And so in 2017, we developed a geoheat strategy for New Zealand, and every year to 2030. And we have action plans every 2 years on what we're going to do that. And you can get a copy of those on that website that I've just written under there, nzgeoheat.org.nz, if you want to have a look at the action plans and the strategy. The goal is to have an increase by 7.5 petajoules of additional direct use energy and 500 new jobs. And in New Zealand, 500 jobs is significant. So next slide, please. I just want to talk about how we're thinking about these projects and how to find successful projects. We've found that when we look at the co-location of resources and geothermal and put them together, that's where projects are successful. So on the left-hand side, we see a map of the Taupo volcanic zone, and the bright colors, the red and the yellows, are the high temperature geothermal fields, and the green layer over the top is our forestry estate. So where all our commercial forests are in New Zealand. And so you can see a natural alignment between forestry and geothermal. And so we have significant number of wood processing projects in New Zealand, and we embed the benefits of geothermal in our wood products. So on the right, that photo there, that is a photo of Kawerau, and Kawerau accounts for about 56% of industrial direct use geothermal in New Zealand, and has significant timber drying and pulp and paper product processing. Next. Along the forestry theme, this is a company called Tenon. They are based in Taupo, and they moved to geothermal for their kiln drying in 2006. They have about 265 employees. They have significantly ramped that up recently. And when they moved from gas to geothermal, they significantly reduced the amount of CO2 that they were emitting to the atmosphere. They reduced their operating costs by millions of dollars, and they increased their drying capacity by 5%. And so we see that move, there are multiple benefits of using geothermal in wood processing. Next slide. One of those, which is not a small thing, we can see demonstrated here by a company called Asaleo. And Asaleo provide tissue products and toilet paper in New Zealand. So we have geothermal toilet paper in New Zealand, which isn't that great. And we can see that when in 2010, Asaleo moved from gas boilers on the left-hand side of the screen to using geothermal, they reduced 46% of their greenhouse gas emissions. So we know in New Zealand that by bringing geothermal energy and heat into our processing, we can decarbonize our economy. Next.
Ah, Kawerau. It's a toilet paper maker's paradise. The ground here's full of steam, so Purex use it to help power their factory. They use sustainable forests. Just look at them grow. And the view from the tea room's not too bad either. Yep, if you want to make toilet paper that's not only soft, but soft on the environment, Kawerau's a pretty good place to do it. Purex, made here in New Zealand for more than 60 years.
So we can see that I hope you like that video. You can see that our manufacturers here in New Zealand really understand the benefits and talk about it in their advertising to users here in New Zealand. Next, please. So here's another group that is really impressive, a Māori company called Miraka, and Miraka is the Māori word for milk. So Miraka, established in 2011, they were profitable within 1 year of operation. So you look at the significant investment that they made and in profit after 1 year. They have high environmental and ethical standards. They embed their cultural values in their operation. So they demand high levels of environmental practice, and they will also pay a premium for that. So Miraka is a premium milk drying facility where they produce milk powders and long life milk for markets, mainly in Asia. They have a Vietnamese partner that they deal with, but mainly throughout Asia. And they use, on average, 20 tons per hour of steam at about 27 bar. They need about 3 megawatts of power to operate. And they run through a steam clean process where they degas, condense, and send fluid to the factory. So Miraka is a great demonstration of geothermal and Māori innovation. Next, please. Oh, and that's what cows look like in New Zealand. They're quite happy. Next, please. So here we see how the Māori values of no waste and using the resources fit into an integrated system. If you look closely at the bottom left of the screen, you can see INAGA, which is the milk drying facility. And up to the right, you can see the geothermal power station. So electricity and steam go to INAGA to dry the milk, and the waste residues go to a worm farm, which is a commercial worm farm that they sell worms and products commercially. And also at the top, you can see there's a dairy operation, which the cows send their milk to INAGA. So there's a really awesome integrated use and thinking, holistic thinking in a Māori sphere here in New Zealand. There's a smart no waste focus. Next, please. So there's a lot of words here. Don't worry, I won't read all the words. What we know creates successful community engagement in New Zealand is that it's all based around trust, and that long-term relationships are really important. So we know that geothermal projects are, you know, here at Wairake, 50, 60, 70 years old, and Māori are thinking in 100-year terms. They're thinking about the next generation. So geothermal and Indigenous peoples have aligned thinking about long-term resource use and management. So we know that it's important that everybody wins in local communities and developers for sustainability, and that there is genuine engagement. People truly are interested in outcomes beneficial to all. And we can see the benefits here in New Zealand of those relationships. Next, please. And now we're starting to share our experiences with others. We had a group from New Zealand over the last couple of years engaged by the United States Energy Association that visited Kenya and worked with the Maasai and Kenjin at Alkaria to work together to create a framework where the groups can move together into the future. And we had representatives from a Māori trust here in New Zealand, and also a developer, a electricity generator, and they went and have spent time with each other and helped develop a forward path for both groups to move forward into the future and hopefully have mutual beneficial success. And next, please. So that is my short, hopefully on time talk. If you have further questions for me that you want to ask that we don't resolve today, please connect with me on LinkedIn and I will help. I'm happy to answer your questions. I encourage you all to keep pushing geothermal forward. It's important for our world. Thank you again for the invite. I wish you all well. Stay safe out there. I look forward to seeing you in person somewhere sometime. And hopefully that will be at the World Geothermal Congress in Reykjavik, most of you. Fingers crossed. And lastly, happy birthday, ITB. 100 years. That's amazing. And I wish you 100 more years.
You.
And I bet Nini will still be there. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Blair, for your very interesting presentation and also very beautiful pictures of New Zealand. Makes us want to visit New Zealand as soon as possible.
When the borders open, please come and visit.
Yeah. Okay, Blair, we have made. I'm sorry, unfortunately, because our times is very short. Maybe Blair, we have just read one question.
Sure.
This is from Nyora Donald, Tanzania. And the question is, as the president of IGA, what are the significance and way forward of IGA towards the sustainability of research expertise in the field of geothermal. Should I repeat it again, or it's already clear?
Sure. One more time.
One more time, okay. As the president of IGA, what are the significance and way forward of IGA towards the sustainability of research expertise in the field of geothermal?
Okay, great. Thanks for that question. And it's a very important question. It's about our future livelihoods and the growth of geothermal around the world. So the sustainability of research expertise in geothermal. So the most important thing to ensure that our experts are around and have a future is that we have a lot of people interested in investigating and using geothermal energy. So we have to ensure that we are promoting geothermal energy use and all their benefits around the world. So what we do know is that geothermal is a very niche market, and a majority of people don't understand what it is and the benefits of it. And we know that geothermal is more than a simple substitute for other electricity generation. We know, like I just spoke about, that there are, significant jobs. It helps with the economy. It provides us access to water, all of those things. Many of the significant problems in the world we can provide solutions for. And I think that what we need to do is start talking about geothermal in a way that people can understand it more easily. And if we can bring key messages to the regulators, the governments, and others that invest in science and energy in a simple way, and we can turn their heads to geothermal energy, that will create an ongoing interest and investment in geothermal science and research for a longer term. So we need to make sure that we are encouraging regulators, investors, and groups to keep investing in geothermal and do more of it. So from an IGA perspective, we are out talking to governments and promoting geothermal and all its benefits so that all of us around the world are benefiting from it, and it'll trickle down into the countries. We're not doing this on our own. We need to work with our country associations, and you have a very strong country association in Indonesia. So we all need to work together and talk to those investors to ensure that we have an ongoing strong community that wants geothermal and pulls us through, and that we have more science. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think it's very clear, Andy. Okay, yeah, unfortunately, because we have a very limited time, very nice discussion, Andy. We hope in the future we have a more longer time to discussion again with you.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah. Miss Andy, actually, we will give you a memento for our appreciation, but maybe we will send to you. The committee will contact you regarding the shipping address.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Miss Andy, and we hope you will get a success with IGA and also with.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we will jump to the next presentation, which will be presented by Pak Permadi. Yeah, Pak Permadi is from Pertamina Geothermal Energy. Will deliver his research about a new approach of a geothermal well production test method, which has been done at Ulubelu geothermal field. Okay, Pak Permadi, if you're ready, you can start your presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, I am Mochammad Permadi Sugiharto. Hopefully we are all given health during this pandemic. Don't forget about the protocol. And hopefully this pandemic will end soon. Amin. First of all, I want to say thank you to ITB International Geothermal Workshop for giving me the opportunity to share my paper with title The Implementation of Flow Performance Tests to Monitor Well Performance in Geothermal Field. I will introduce my colleagues who contribute to make this paper. They are Fadil Evan Malestio, Ahmad Fahmi Fanani, Pak Fernando Pasaribu, Pak Marihot Silaban, Pak Dimas Taha Maulana, and Bu Neni Meriani Saptaji. The outline of this presentation is as follows. The first is introduction. This part explains the definition of FPT, location of case studies, background, objective, and location of well. The second is method. This is explain the method from the schematic side and the equation used to create the deliverability curve. The third is case study. This is explain the FPT implementation process, and it is result in 3 wells which will be discussed in this paper. The fourth is conclusion, and the fifth is recommendation. Afterward is a further action, explain what things can be done after FPT. And the last one is acknowledge. Flow performance test is one of the method or measurement solution of the flow rate taken on the time the production well supplying steam to power plant, especially in two-phase geothermal field which has separator to separate the fluid. The FPT work implementation are as follows. This method is carried out when the well operates to supply steam to power plant. This method can be done at the time when the power generation is reduced because of excess power in network or maintenance in power plant. It has very short implementation time. It's 4 until 5 hours for each point. Next, about the location. In this paper, the field as a place to implement this method is located on Sumatra Island in the province of Lampung, namely the Ulubelu field. Ulubelu field has been operating since 2012. There are 56 wells, which are 31 production wells, 14 reinjection wells, 10 monitoring wells, and 3 temporary abandoned. The Ulubelu field has a reservoir temperature is 250 until 280 Celsius degree, and the production zone is in the north and the reaction zone is in the south. Currently, UBL has operating 220 megawatts capacity from 4 power plant units. Unit 1 and 2 are operated by PLN, while Unit 3 and 4 are operated by PGE. The background why FPT activity is needed is because of the need for monitoring well production profile that is useful to know change in the well characteristic. However, because the field might have limited steam buffer, and to do production tests must shut down the power plant system. So this method is used to cover this problem. In this case study, the FET data is validated by TFT data. Although it may occur because another factor as borehole problem and surface facility problem. The objective of this paper is to know the change in well production characteristic by monitoring steam flow during well productions. And the location of the research well is in cluster D for UBL 52 and cluster J for UBL J2 and UBL 54. Next, about method. In the schematic, among the factors involved are wellhead pressure, separator pressure, level of water in the separator, steam flow rate, and the brine flow rate. For the preparation procedure is as follows. Check all the methods connecting directly with the data needed and calibrate if needed. Check the excess of steam or available reserve steam. Check valve condition that related to the work. Check the opening valve position in the well related to the tested well. Then the FPT process can be done as follows. Close throttle valve well A to raise the wellhead pressure of tested well in according with the program. Close the steam valve to maintain separator pressure in accordance with the condition before test. Close brine valve to adjust the fluid level in the separator. Close the throttle valve well B in the well that connected to the same separator with tested well to keep the wellhead pressure in its initial condition, usually after steam in the separator is greatly reduced due to the reduced steam production from the tested well, and monitor the steam reduction that occurred as a result of the steam reduction in tested well. FET similar with production separation test, the FET running under operation conditions, the output curve will be more representative from the individual operation test because of the interference effect will be more visible. And the data validated using traction flow test and horizontal production test. The deliverability curve is constructed from the production rate in various wellhead pressure by using empirical equations. That is James equation from Russell James and parabolic equation which from mathematical parabolic equation by substitute well production flow rate and wellhead pressure parameter. Making a deliverability curve is done by matching FPT data with these two equations and choose which one is closer to the FPT data. Like the figure in the left side, you can see. The first case is UBL 52. UBL 52 as the tested well is marked yellow in the picture. While UBL 11 and separator were monitored, the picture showed the brine line, steam line, and flow meter. FPT data then construct with the equation, it turns out to be more matched using James equation. Then it is validated with the FP data and the deviation is only 1.4%. Then compared to the previous production test data, it appears that after operating for 1 year, it still seems unstable. It may be overproduction or interference with the other wells in the same cluster. The second case study is UBL J2. UBL J2 as tested well is marked yellow in the picture, while UBL J1, UBL 54, and separator were monitored. Flow meter is located after central separator. We cannot see in the picture here. FPT data then construct with the equation. It turned out to be more matched using parabolic equation. Then it is validated with production test data, and the deviation is 2.7%. The third case study is UBL 54. UBL 54, as tested well, is marked yellow in the picture. UBL 54 does not use FPT, but tracer flow test with 3 times of data retrieval with different wellhead pressure. TFT data then construct with the equation. It turned out to be more matching using the James equation. This third study aims to compare the use of both equation with TFT and FPT data. It is more beneficial to use FPT than TFT because TFT is costly. But TFT is also important because it is used as a data validation. Then compare with the previous production test data, it can be seen after operating 4 until 5 months, it still seems unstable. It may be overproduction or interfering with the other wells in the same cluster. And this is the conclusion. First, FPT program implemented in Bulu-Bulu field was validated by TFT and production test data, which the deviation results vary from 1 until 3%. Second, UBL 52 and UBL 54 data still looking for stable performance during 4 months until 1 year of operation, although there are possibilities due to overproduction and or interference effect from another wells in the same cluster. Third, in UBL J2, there is not noticeable difference in characteristic between production test and FPT data. And 4, FPT is cheaper than TFT and cheaper than horizontal production test, which needs production testing facility. The other benefit, FPT does not have to shut down production wells from the supply system to the power plant. From this research, the recommendation is the FPT should be applied as a solution to acquire production wells data on a regular basis in accordance to company work plan. Why this method is highly recommended? Because by monitoring change in the characteristics of well production, we can mitigate well problem. If we look at the pattern of production profile, in figure 1, illustrate the next change due to the pressure drop. In figure 2, illustrate the enthalpy has large effect on maximum discharge pressure and smaller effect on total mass at lower wellhead pressure. In figure 3, it can be shown that there is no change in maximum discharge pressure, much change in flow rate at lower wellhead pressure. In figure 4, after updating characteristics of each production well, we can forecasting production decline in several years and plan further action for well problem mitigation, such as perform makeup well, hole cleaning, or remedial. So this brings us to the end of the presentation. I would like to sincerely thank to Pertamina Geothermal Energy for permission to publish this paper. Thank you to the reservoir management team at the exploitation division for their support. Thank you to the operation division team at the Ulu-Bulu field, which involved in daily acquisition of production parameters data. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you, Pak Permadi. It was an excellent research and presentation. Yeah, as we know that the production test, the common production test may more costly, right? So this simple production test maybe can be an alternative. Now we move to question and answer. This is from Hasbi, ITB. The question is, what is the next plan for this research, Pak Permadi?
Okay, thank you, Pak Dimas. I will answer the question. For the next plans, it is suggested that the FPT should be applied for the next plan as a solution to acquire production wells data on a regular basis in according to company work plan. This is the highly recommended because by monitoring change in the characteristic of well production, we can mitigate a well problem. After updating characteristic of each production well, we can forecast production decline in several years and plan further action for well problem mitigation. For example, if deliverability curve profile show a natural production decline, then we need to perform a makeup well. But if the deliverability curve profile show a scaling problem production decline, then we need to perform the whole cleaning program. I think this is the this method works and what is to use that. I hope this answered the question. Thank you, Dimas.
Okay, thank you, Pak Permadi, for the answer and comment. The next question is from Pak Panji J. Putra from Star Energy. And the question is, FPT is rely on metering tool that we use. It means in Star Energy. What is metering tool that PGA use? And how frequent PGA conduct calibration for metering tool? Pak Permadi.
Okay, Pak Dimas. The metering, it means a flow meter, I think. So the flow meter, what we use is orifice in the after separator. Yes, we use that. And we validate it by TFT, tracer flow test. I hope this is answered, Pak Dimas.
Okay, thank you, Pak Permadi, for your answer. Okay, because the time is up, Pak Permadi, unfortunately, that will be our last question. So thank you again, Pak Permadi. We hope you will success with your research. Actually, I wanna invite the audience to give you an applause, but before it is online, maybe I will give you my best applause.
Thank you, Pak Dimas.
Thank you, Pak Permadi. See you soon at ITB. And there will be a memento for you again as appreciation. The committee will contact you, Pak Permadi, regarding the student grant. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Dimas.
Thank you. See you soon. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue to the next presentation, there will be a video from PT Tustraco as our onshore, please enjoy.
Geothermal energy is a relatively environmentally friendly source of energy. It is derived from the heat of the earth. In recent years, the market for geothermal power has increased sharply, especially in emerging markets due to the economic growth due to the growing number of communities in low-income rural areas that have access to the power grid. Many governments are also increasing focus to reduce the dependency on expensive fossil fuels and not environmentally friendly. Systraco Group is a company engaged in the energy sector. Established in 1995, Systraco Group is currently very focused to be able to develop and serve you in various needs related to the geothermal sector, which among of them are hole cleaning services. Systraco Group provides comprehensive conventional fishing tools and systems include packer milling and retrieving, internal and external cutting, internal and external engagement, washover, basically every fishing application. Regardless of what's in your well, hence we've removed it successfully. We also provide a radial cutting torch that is safe and without any explosives or harmful chemical elements that can cut the tubular drilling equipment left in the well. As well, biochemical that can scale control, corrosion control, cooling water treatment and also as a rig washer. Downhole camera. Leveraging the advancement of technology today, Systraco Group also provides high-resolution downhole camera equipment and clear image quality and capable of operating up to a depth of 2,000 meters, adding to our line of services to focus on the development of the geothermal sector. Geothermal well testing. Energy Megapersada as the sister company of Systraco Group also provides the services of geothermal well testing, real-time well monitoring, geoscience. Digital remote sensing use sniffer 4D drone. Digital remote sensing system has an advanced capability to detect and map for the following energy sector applications: steam surface breakout monitoring, well reliability and integrity monitoring, air quality mapping, well surveillance and inactive well management, geothermal associated gases detector and mapping. All of which are focused to support activities in the geothermal sector. Please, do not hesitate to contact us when you need our support, because we are there for our common progress. Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will move to the next presentation. It will be from Pak Eric Firanda about reservoir modeling. Yeah, Pak Eric Firanda is also from Pertamina Geothermal Energy, and now he is one of the students in Geothermal Master Program. And if you're ready, Pak Eric, you can start your presentation.
Good day, everybody. My name is Eric Firanda. Here I would like to present on my presentation. Topic is about modify non-isothermal lump parameter model for geothermal reservoir. I present this at ITB International Geothermal Workshop, where here I'm as the author and 3 co-authors, Fernando Pasaribu, Sutopo, and Heru. This is the outline of my presentation. The introduction, there is the objective, and then there is the basic theory and methodology, and then case study, result and discussion, and the last is conclusion. Introduction, the mass balance in geothermal, where mass balance is the most important knowledge in geothermal. So I will explain about this in the next slide. And the second is the geothermal has unique characteristic. First is the reservoir temperature is the main factor, followed by reservoir probability and the pressure. So when we have the high temperature, so we can produce the steam or the fluid, and we can as the power for the power plant. And then a decrease in temperature will result a decrease enthalpy, which affect the capacity of the well. This is the objective of my presentation, the predict geothermal performance along the production life. And then we can calculate heat and mass balance for the non-isothermal condition with pressure and temperature changes. And then we can also predict the movement of the fluid from wellhead to the turbine. So this is the basic theory and methodology. First is we have the reservoir mechanism, because the fluid movement in the reservoir, and we have also wellbore fluid mechanism, where is this is our reservoir. We know pressure is here is the reservoir pressure, and by this pressure and by the different pressure, the pressure make the fluid movement from the boundary to the or from the reservoir to the wellbore, or we know as the pressure of well flowing. Because the difference of pressure, fluid can flow to the wellbore, and in the wellbore there is the pressure brought to the surface, and we can produce the steam or the brine. It's depend on the driving mechanism of our reservoir. After a while, we have the surface fluid mechanism, and also we have power generation. Here, in the surface, the fluid, when we have the water-dominated reservoir or field, we have the separator to separate steam and brine. And then the brine we inject again, and the steam we can flow to the turbine. And this is the how the reservoir mechanism of the fluid. We know the Darcy equation describe the porous media. This is W. W is the mass rate for the water, and this is the steam mass rate, the W. And we know the parameters that affected this mass rates. First is absolute probability, and then there is the relative probability, and also the thickness, the reservoir pressure, well flowing pressure, and also mu or viscosity. We have the encouragement, and we also will reduce, and we also have the skins, and this is the density of the water. And here, similar to the steam. And for this relative probability of water and also for the steam, we have the relative probability curve is like this. Next, this is the mass and heat balance, or we call as the LAM parameter. We know this is as our reservoir. There are water, steam, volume, porosity, and heat in our reservoir. And we have also the heat source support the temperature or the heat to our reservoir. We have also the recharge, and we also have the heat reinjected from the brine or the dense hot wells. And then we produce from the producer well, and we have the heat loss to the rock, the environment. Here I mean the surrounding rock. So we can calculate the cumulative mass. When we have the mass rate from the Darcy equation, we can also can calculate the cumulative mass. We can use trapezoidal methods to calculate this. and we can combine with the heat balance. When here is what we produce. This is the vapor or steam, and here the W is for the water, and we have the loss. So how to convert from the cumulative mass to make the heat? We just multiply by the enthalpy H here. So this equation equals to what happened in our reservoir. It's like difference of pressure. It's mean that some expansion, and can also have the injection. We have the reinjection here, and we have the cumulative or the recharge, and we have the heat of the heat source. Wellbore and surface fluid mechanism. In the well, the fluid rise up along the borehole to the surface, or we call as the wellhead pressure, following the law of conservation of energy, and also occur in surface piping using the equation. The pressure drop affected by gravity, acceleration, and also the friction. And we know that currently there are many correlations, such as Lockhart-Martinelli, Harrison-Freston, Dunn and Rose, H. Don and Brown, Orkizewski, and Reflux. For the power generation, we have the phase diagram, temperature and entropy. The number here 1 represent the reservoir condition or in the well. We have increasing the dryness, and we until the surface here, the surface condition at wellhead, increasing the dryness, and then 3 in spirator. And here spirited the steam and the brine. And the steam going to the 4th number here, and steam in the turbine convert to the energy using this equation, which is the efficiency, and M is the mass rate. We have the delta of our difference between the enthalpy in here and here. So we can use the entropy equation, where the enthalpy of the steam here is equal with the enthalpy is here 6 Xn. And then we can know the X is the dryness, and we can calculate the enthalpy, and we use this equation. So this is the case study. We use 5 well example. This is so many data here, like absolute permeability, relative permeability to steam, and also the correlation between the relative permeability to the saturation. And then we have other parameters, and this is the result. The discharge present or describe the mass rate and the time we simulate or calculate for 30 years. Here we can see the mass rate is going down. And the brown, this line, is the bottom hole brine flow rate, and here is the head brine. This bottom hole, this is the wellhead. Because the amount of the brine decrease, because the dryness increase in here. But for the steam, for the at wellhead, the steam increase, but in the reservoir or the bottom hole, the steam flow rate is 0. But here the line little bit straight line, because reservoir pressure decrease not too high. This is the result. We can see this is our reservoir pressure in the initial 43, and then going down to the 42.2. It's why the graph of the mass rate not too significant going down. And then we have the reservoir temperature. We assume as the isothermal. So we can also there are so many parameters that we can predict here, like the dryness inspirator is 0 or 11% increase from the wellhead. It's mean that the steam increase from here to here is the increase of the amount of the steam. And we can calculate the power. The megawatt is about 5.7, and at the end of prediction, the end of simulation, the power only remains 5.9. This is the example or the result for well 1. And then for the well 2, graph is like this, similar to first well. So it's also going down, but actually this is not the straight line. From here, we can see here the reservoir temperature is not isothermal. From initial 244 Celsius and going down to 236 Celsius. The simulation for the 30 years, and we can calculate the power 6.9 to 5 megawatt. So from here we can see the wellhead pressure is also going down. This because we know that the decrease of reservoir temperature so make the wellhead pressure going down. So this is the conclusion of my presentation. First is the non-isothermal LAM parameter has been developed, and it can be applied for evaluating geothermal reservoirs. And then the new equation has considered many aspects that affect fluid mechanism from reservoir to power generation, such as Darcy equation in porous media, fluid mechanism, equation to no pressure drop in wellbore from bottom hole to wellhead, and also the pressure drop in pipeline, and can calculate power generation. Or we are familiar with the megawatts of the production. And this paper is also applicable to consider mass reinjection, recharge, heat loss, and heat source. Okay, that is all of my presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Eric. Yeah, again, very interesting presentation. Yeah, actually, we have one question from Pak Heru. Is it very short question, Pak Eric? Maybe you can explain again. The question is from Pak Heru ITB. The question is, how do you calculate the enthalpy in heat balance equation? Maybe you can explain it again. And okay, Pak Eric, is this question clear, or should I repeat it again?
Please repeat again.
How the question?
How do you calculate the enthalpy? It's right?
Yeah, in heat balance equation. Maybe you should explain more about it.
Okay, the enthalpy maybe mean here is the enthalpy in the reservoir. When I have the reservoir, for example, for 100% water, so I assume that the enthalpy of water is the total enthalpy. But when the fluid flow to the wellbore, I think there is the changing in the dryness, so the enthalpy will be different, and also there is the loss of the heat to the I think that the casing or the rock, I mean like that. Is it answer the question, Mas Dimas?
Yeah, maybe it's answered the question. Regarding to the question from Pak Heru, a little bit curious about what is the assumption that you use in your model besides the reservoir pressure declining or changing. Okay. Is there any other assumption, like maybe the characteristic of the reservoir, maybe the permeability, the porosity, or something else? Eric?
Yes, thank you. The assumption is here is the equation is just for the single well. So when we have the reservoir simulation where the assumption is here so many wells, so by this equation still limited. So is this equation or this method just for the simulate for one well? I think for the single well.
And what about the reservoir characteristic, Pak Eric?
Like the probability, I assume that the absolute probability is constant. We know that when the temperature in the reservoir increasing or decrease, we know that the probability is usually changed, maybe like that.
And one again, Pak Eric. So you assume that the correlation between the mass flow and the bottom hole pressure, the correlation is PI or linear, right?
Yes, linear.
Linear, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of there are no other question, I think this session is enough. Pak Eric, again, I would like to say thank you very much for your sharing. Yeah, we hope you will success in the future with your, especially with your research. Okay, thank you very much, Pak Eric.
Thank you, Pak Dimas. Good afternoon.
See you soon in ITB. Yeah, there is my applause background. Okay, Pak Eric, the committee will give you a memento for our appreciation, and the committee will contact you for your address, your shipping address. Okay, thank you, Pak Eric. See you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue to the next presentation, there will be a video from PT Ediadmaja as our sponsorship. Please enjoy the video.
Indonesia merupakan salah satu negara yang memiliki potensi energi panas bumi terbesar di dunia. Saat ini, Indonesia menduduki peringkat 2 dunia sebagai negara penghasil listrik dari energi panas bumi. Selain sebagai energi yang bersih dan berkelanjutan, peran energi panas bumi sebagai baseload penyediaan listrik menjadi pertimbangan utama agar pengembangannya diprioritaskan. Oleh karena itu, dalam menjaga ketahanan energi suatu negara, energi panas bumi dapat menjadi andalan untuk memasok listrik guna memenuhi target bauran energi 23% EBT di tahun 2025, sesuai dengan amanat dari Kebijakan Energi Nasional. Untuk memenuhi pencapaian target EBT, dalam bauran energi tersebut, Indonesia layak melakukan percepatan pembangunan proyek PLTP di Indonesia. PT Geodipa Energi Persero adalah perusahaan yang bergerak di bidang energi panas bumi mulai dari eksplorasi hingga eksploitasi. Perusahaan didirikan pada tanggal 5 Juli tahun 2002. Kemudian pada tahun 2011, melalui Peraturan Pemerintah Nomor 62 Tahun 2011, Geodipa ditetapkan sebagai persero yang pengawasan dan pembinaannya berada di bawah Kementerian Keuangan dan PT PLN Persero, yang juga merupakan salah satu Special Mission Vehicle atau SMV di bawah Kementerian Keuangan dengan misi mendukung program pemerintah dalam penyediaan listrik tenaga panas bumi yang aman dan ramah lingkungan, serta memberikan manfaat besar kepada Indonesia. Geodipa siap untuk melanjutkan pengembangan proyek PLTP di Patuha yang masuk dalam Fast Track Program atau FTP tahap 2 10.000 MW. Bagian dari program 35.000 MW yang merupakan program pemerintah di bidang pembangunan infrastruktur ketenaga listrikan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we can continue to the next presentation. Will be delivered by Pak Ricky Prabowo. Pak Ricky Prabowo will present his research with a topic about feasibility study of using downhole pump to stimulate the productivity of geothermal well, and his research is held in for Tulehu geothermal field. Okay, Pak Ricky, if you're ready, you can start your presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ricky Prabowo from Institut Teknologi Bandung and PT PLN Persero. Today at ITB International Geothermal Workshop 2020, I want to present my research paper with the title Study of Increased Geothermal Well Production Rate with Downhole Pump Installation for Utilization in Power Plant. The authors of the paper are Ricky Prabowo, Neni Miryani Saptaji, Dimas Taha Maulana, and Yoda Yudhistira Nusyaputra from Institut Teknologi Bandung and PT PLN Persero. First, the outline of my presentation. First one is introduction, the background why I choose the topic. Second, well condition and characteristic based on well testing. The third, a pressure depth calculation and inflow performance relationship. Fourth is downhole pump calculation. Fifth, ORC power plant calculation. And the last one is conclusion of the research. First, let's start with the introductions. Geothermal well is one of the main components of geothermal utilizations. Well category based on capability of produced geothermal fluid flow to surface divided into self-discharge and non-self-discharge. Self-discharge, the well with high permeability, high pressure, and high temperature. Non-self-discharge divided into several conditions. First, with high permeability and high temperature but low pressure. It will become easier because if there is boiling at bottom hole, it will push the fluid flow into the surface. And other non-self-discharge divided into some condition based on parameter of permeability, pressure, and temperature. The well with low pressure, low permeability, and low temperature will become dry well. The well with low permeability but high pressure and high temperature need well stimulation, which is the methods are oxidizing and hydraulic fracturing to open the fracture and increase the permeability. The well with high permeability but low pressure and low temperature need artificial lift method, which is one of them is downhole pump installations. Geothermal well with high permeability, low pressure, and low temperature there is in Tulehu field. So that is necessary to make study of downhole pump installation in this well. downhole pump divided into line shaft pump and electrical submersible pump. The main difference is the position of the motor. LSP, the position of the motor at the surface, and electrical submersible pump, the position of the motor deep into the well. The advantages of LSP are higher motor efficiency because motor operates in air, higher temperature capability, and generally lower purchase price than ESP. The ESP have advantages are usually higher speeds, deeper setting for installation, and less installation and pump uphold time. Then we move to well condition and characteristic of X1 well. X1 well drilled in 2017 and directional drilling to predicted permeable zone at Banda Fault and Banda Hatuasa Fault. The depth of the well is 1,700 meter depth with kickoff point 350 meter. The well is standard hole with production casing diameter 9.58 inch and production lining diameter 8.5 inch. Several well testing have been done on X1 geothermal well. Water loss test that will identify feed zone, gross permeability test, and pressure fallout test that will give the value of EJTVDS, and permeability thickness that will describe the permeability of the well. Heat up test that will give pressure and temperature profile and maximum temperature of the well, and the production test will give well deliverability curve that describes the capability of well to produce geothermal fluid. Based on the well testing result, we get the well condition and characteristics of X1 well. The maximum temperature is 139 degrees Celsius. Permeability thickness is 16.5 decimeter, and the production mass flow rate. Based on the production test, mass flow rate 11.70x until 38.8 kg per second at wellhead pressure 2.6 until 3.17 bar. So the X1 geothermal well have characteristics with high permeability, low pressure, and low temperature. So it is suitable to downhole pump installation in this well. And then we make pressure drop calculation and inflow performance relationship. Based on well geometry and schematic, we get the value of production casing diameter, production lining diameter, feed zone at 750 meter, and reservoir pressure at 67 bar. We make pressure drop calculation with homogeneous correlation, and we get the value of pressure well flowing. After that, we make the IPR curve. Based on the static pressure and temperature by heating up test, it indicates that the reservoir is saturation liquid. And we have reservoir pressure, we have also value of productivity index. We try some value of pressure well flowing, we get mass flow rate, and we make the curve to describe the correlation between pressure well flowing and the mass flow rate. And the IPR curve will be needed to determine optimal mass flow rate at several value of pump setting depth in downhole pump calculation. Then we move to section of pump calculation. First, we choose downhole pump type. One of the parameters that will be considered is production casing diameter. Production casing diameter of X1 well is 9.58 inches, and the minimum well casing diameter for LSP is 13.3 inches. For ESP, 4.5 inches. Based on this data, production casing diameter X1 well, the suitable downhole pump type is electrical submersible pump or ESP. And then we make pump calculation we try some value of pump setting depth from 500 until 600 depth, because the pump setting depth usually 200 above the feed zone. And then we get the mass flow rate and pressure well flowing based on IPR curve, with the limitation pump section pressure must be higher than boiling pressure. We also make calculation for total dynamic head, consists of net water lift, friction loss, and wellhead discharge pressure. So we get the value of mass flow rate and total dynamic head for each pump setting depth. Then we make ESP type selection based on the requirement of minimum well casing and optimum range based on ESP manufacturer catalog, with the optimal mass flow rate from 19,000 barrels per day until 24,000 barrels per day, and production casing size 9.58 inches. There are two types of ESP selected based on those conditions, ESP1 and ESP2. And then we plot mass flow rate value on pump performance curve, we get pump efficiency, head per stage, and brake horsepower per stage for ESP1 and ESP2. We make calculation for total stage required and brake horsepower calculation. We get for the ESP1 total stage required 52 stage and brake horsepower 420.71 kilowatt. And for ESP2 total stage required 41 stage with brake horsepower 69.36 kilowatt. And then we try those calculations for each pump setting depth. We get the correlation. Deeper pump setting depths will give higher mass flow rate, but also higher brake horsepower. It also happen in the ESP2. And we will choose the suitable pump setting depth by net power output value after the ORC power plant calculation is finished. Then we move to ORC power plant calculation. This is the ORC schematic. And then we have some assumption for the calculation based on the previous calculation. Pressure is 3 bar, brine temperature 138 degrees Celsius, mass flow rate 44.86 kilogram per second. And we have also the value. We have also the value for turbine efficiency, feed pump efficiency, preheater efficiency, and evaporator efficiency. And the calculation with thermodynamic concept for each stage that will use axle that combined with reef-rock. After we have done the calculation for each stage, we find the optimal condition by use some value for turbine inlet pressure and condenser pressure. For example, with butane working fluid, the optimal condition is at turbine inlet pressure 15.26 bar and condensate pressure 2.7 bar. And then we also try some working fluids. The working fluid is chosen based on technical aspect and environmental aspects. And we make the calculation for the optimal condition for each working fluid. We compare and we get the highest ORC power output and thermal efficiency is ORC power plant model with butane working fluid. So in this research, we choose butane working fluid as the working fluid in ORC power plant. Then we make calculation net power output with butane working fluid for each pump setting depth, and we get the correlation. The deeper pump setting depth will give higher net power output for ORC power plant with ESP1 and ESP2. ORC power plant with ESP1 give the net power output 937.37 kilowatt, and ORC power plant with ESP2 give net power output 1,288.72 kilowatt. And then after we finish the ORC power plant calculation, we get the conclusion of the research. First, X1 geothermal well have characteristics that with high permeability, low pressure, and low temperature. Therefore, the implementation of downhole pump is suitable for this well. And then the second one, downhole pump type suitable with X1 well condition and characteristic is ESP1 and ESP2 based on the manufacturer catalog that will produce geothermal fluid mass flow rate 44.86 kg per second at optimal pump setting depth 600 meter. ORC model at optimal condition with butane working fluid will produce net power output 0.94 megawatt until 1.28 megawatt for ORC combined with ESP1 and ESP2. That's all my presentation. Thank you for the opportunity. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Ricky. Nice presentation. Yeah, we know that sometimes when we have the well that has very small capacity, sometimes we abandon the well because it's not economic. But with your research, we have an opportunity to use the well or to use what I say, yeah, to utilize the well. Okay, Pak Ricky, we have one question for now. It will be from Sanrial Moreno from PAGES. And the question is, what are the indications to look for in groundwater if you are suspecting the geothermal influence in your aquifer? Do you get the question, Pak Ricky, or should I repeat it again?
It's been the
how did you indicate the effect of the groundwater influx, maybe influence in your aquifer?
For the level of the static water level, we can first at the start condition, we can get the water level condition by heat up test or static pressure temperature test. And after that, we can maybe the question about the effect, the effect of the geothermal at the level, we can check for the pressure and water level by the change of the water level.
Yeah,
after the fluid is produced, because it will be give different condition between its start, it's still static, and when the fluid is produced.
Okay, Pak Ricky, thank you. Then we move to the next question from Pak Fernando Pasaribu from PGE. The question is, how do you avoid the two-phase flow to minimize the damage to the pump during operation and minimize the scale as well?
Okay, thank you for the question. I will try to answer. Based on the heating up test, the temperature profile and the boiling BPD profile, it shows that the reservoir is in saturation liquid. And after that, we use pump, and there is some limitation for the pump suction pressure must be higher than boiling pressure. So by using downhole pump, we try to keep the condition of the liquid at saturation condition. So we keep keep the pressure, increase the pressure. Like I explained before, there is calculation for pump section pressure based on fit zone and pressure well flowing. So the key is we keep the condition at saturation liquid by keep the pressure must be higher than boiling pressure.
Okay, thank you, Pak Ricky. Regarding to the Pak Fernando question, is it this pump, is it compatible to for two-phase liquid or just designed for one phase, Pak Ricky?
Okay, for this downhole pump, electrical and submersible pump and light setup, just for one phase based on experience in another field. And of course, the key of the operating system of the pump is to keep the fluid is just in one phase in saturation liquid condition.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one more question from Pak Ade, ITB. The question is, how to determine the maximum flow rate that can be increased using pump, refer to reservoir or downhole condition. How to calculate the maximum flow rate?
Okay, thank you for the question. I have explained at the slide, the calculation for the mass flow rate, it depends on IPR curve, inflow performance relationship. Yeah. We get the inflow performance relationship, and we try to some value of pump setting depth, and we get the fit zone and reservoir pressure based on well testing. After that, we can get the pressure well flowing and mass flow rate based on IPR for that for several value of pump setting depth. And the limitation is the pump section pressure. So for example, at pump setting depth 600 meter, the PWF process while flowing to get the pump section pressure higher than boiling pressure, it's 19 bar. For the 19 bar, we get 44.86 kilogram per second. So the key for determine the maximum mass flow rate is the IPR curve and try some value of pump setting depth. And the pump setting depth usually 200 until 300 above the feed zones.
Thank you, Pak Ricky, for the answer. Okay, because the time is up, Pak Ricky, I should end this session. Thank you very much, and I will give you applause. Thank you, Pak Ricky. Yeah, we hope you will success in your career, especially in at PLN. And see you soon.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome.
And I'm sorry I forgot. There will be a memento for you, Pak Ricky, as appreciation, and the committee will contact you regarding the shipping address. Okay, thank you, Pak Ricky.
Thank you. Welcome from Mas Dimas.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue, there will be a video from PT Scientific Drilling as our sponsorship. Please enjoy the video. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will move to the next presentation. It will be from Pak Praja. Pak Praja will present his research about his evaluation of the geothermal power plant at Ulumbu Geothermal Field. Pak Praja is from PT Perusahaan Listrik Negara or PLN. Pak Praja, if you ready, times is yours, Pak.
Thank you for your attendance in this presentation. Let me introduce myself. My name is Prajamukti. I just graduated from ITB Geothermal Master Program. On this occasion, I will discuss about performance evaluation of geothermal power producer using ES. We study Ulumbu Geothermal Power Producer, Unit 4, Nusa Tenggara Timur, Indonesia. The outline of this presentation is divided into 6 parts. The first is introduction, and then the second is method, The third is price cycle condensing turbine. And the next is the equation model in ES. And the result is question. And the last one is conclusion. Okay, introduction. Ulumbu Geothermal Working Area is located in Flores, Nusa Tenggara Timur. In the location, there are 4 geothermal power plants. And the research is conducted in Unit 4. Ulumbu Unit 4 has a capacity around 2.5 megawatt, and it uses dry-spin cycle condensing turbine. And the turbine is designed with turbine inlet pressure around 11 bar. And then the specific steam consumption after construction is 9.8 ton per megawatt. Then the SSC average during operation in 2019 average is 10.04 ton per megawatt. Ulumbu Unit 4 is supplied steam from ULP or 2 production well. The condition in 2011 production test for Ulumbu Unit 2 is overhead pressure is 11 bar, and then the temperature is 240 degrees Celsius, and it has a steam flow from 117 to 75 ton per megawatt. The HCG content is 3%. And then during 2019, it is known that overhead pressure is reduced to 9.6 bar. And then the HCG also decreased, become 2.2%. In this study, we're using the method we can show in the picture. The method is in our research to evaluate the performance of Ulumbu Unit 4 following this diagram. Firstly, we study the temperature, and then collecting data, for example, equipment specification, operational data, system finished data, and then we're creating equation model in ES. Using ES with serial number 57086. And after this, we can execute the equation model. And the result we can match with the operation relation or also the design. If we match, it is finished, and if not, we can check the equation model. And then this Ulumbu for heat balance diagram we can see in this picture. It is simplified from design drawing. The value of every parameter is the design. From the design, we know that SSG is around, for Unit 4 is around 8.2 ton per megawatt. And with this value, it can produce a gross kilowatt power around 2.5 megawatt until 3 megawatt. From the drawing, the red mark is represent the simple dry spin cycle for geothermal. Number 1 is the spin come from the Ulumbu ULP2 production well, and then number 2 is a turbine inlet, and then number 3 is spin after expansion process in turbine, and then number 4 is spin condensing in the condenser. From the drawing, we use the following equation to evaluate the system of Ulumbu. For turbine, we refer to DPPO 2012, and then for the condenser, we refer in the book NAC 2002. And then for pump, we can calculate this equation. And then for the NCG injector, we adopt from Stone 1966. It is have some steps. Firstly is we count the entrainment ratio, and then we count the air equivalent, and then we count the compression ratio with this equation. And then For the next step is expansion ratio using this equation. And then next is to steam ratio, and then the end we can get the value of motive steam flow. And then for the cooling tower, we refer to the two of two. One is a max 2002, and then for the cooling tower fan, we refer to liter 9081. For the SSC and for cycle efficiency, we use this equation. And then we write the equation in ES in equation window like this in the red mark. It is easy to using the ES because the program language is same like we type the equation in MS Office. So I think it's simple program, quite simple program for the ES. And then the calculation result in ES also could be shown in the diagram below like this. The calculation result it is matched with design on the ES SSC for calculation in ES. You'll see result around 8.227 ton per megawatt. And then kilowatt net output netto around 2,268 kilowatt. And then for the overall cycle efficiency, we get 11.93%. Well, generally, this is with the design of the Ulumbu Unit 4. And then we can also plot the temperature and entropy and entropy RP, TNS diagram for Ulumbu Unit 4. This is the calculation. Plotting the TS diagram for Ulumbu cycle, it looks like same with TS diagram for dry cycle pattern. This mark number one is inlet. Before inlet turbine, this is steam outlet from the scrubber, then inlet to the turbine in the point 2, and then expansion. 3S and 3. 3S is entropy, and 3 is actual, and then the condensing process in point 4. And then this we try to vary some parameter to know the effect of to the generator output. We try to vary the main steam flow in the turbine with the turbine pressure as keep saying in around 11 bar as per design. And the result, the simulation to change the varying in the steam flow to know the generator output is generator gross maximum. We can get around 3,340 kilowatt at maximum steam turbine flow around 7.63 kilogram per second. As per maximum turbine inlet pressure, inlet flow is stated in the specification is 7.63 kilogram per second. But the installed generator capacity in Ulumbu is only 3 megawatt or 3,000 kilowatt. So yeah, generator maximum capacity. So with this condition, overall efficiency could be reached upon the Ulumbu is only 12.3% on this. Some reference say that for the reservoir that have enthalpy around 2,800 should be and dry cycle, so the overall efficiency is around 70%. But for the actual condition, so Ulumbu still below the standard efficiency. And for the installed capacity of generator around 300 kilowatt, when we find the turbine steam flow, it does not affect the change of ASSG as long as the turbine in the pressure keep stable at one value. For example, when the total pressure keep in around 11 bar, when we find the inner turbine steam flow, this not change the SSC. SSC is the same as it constant in the 8.2 ton per megawatt. This condition, using the installed generator capacity around 3,000 kilowatt. If Ulumbu keep operated with the turbine pressure 11 bar, the allowable electrical steam flow is around 6.8 kilogram per second. Because if it is over this value, it will be changes from the installed generator. We also to try to vary the MCG content using parametric table. We change the content of MCG to know the effect to the overall system, especially for generator outlet. Using actual operation data to simulate the change of MCG content, we know that every 1% change of MCG content will affect to the value of SSD around 0.1 ton per megawatt. So if every change 1% of the MCG, it is also influence to the SSD. Then increasing MCG make the power of generator and overall cycle efficiency is decreased because the mix enthalpy between steam and MCG have a lower value compared with the pure steam. So this is still reasonable. And then for every 1% change of the MCG content, it will increase the overall steam required for Ulumbu 4 about 5 until 7%. The increase is effect. The increasing is the causing by increase of motive steam consumption, especially. And then the thing of pressure from the ULP2 processing well, on that the pressure of the ULP2 is decreased until 9.6 bar. So we try to change the total net pressure to get the generator net output higher. We simulate to change the total net pressure to respond to the steam pressure supply from well that initial from design is 11 bar become 9.6 bar. Then the result is generator net output maximum kept at the total net pressure 9.3 bar. In this condition, SSC is 9.17 ton per megawatt and the overall efficiency is 10.39%. Compared with today operation, Ulumbu and this data acquisition, the Ulumbu is operating with the total pressure around 8.6 bar. At this moment, the overall efficiency is lower, around 10.19%. On the research, the conclusion, we can conclude first is a simulation modeling based on sequence diagram and operation condition for Ulumbu 4 has been carried out. The second one is the performance evaluation used in the proposed model could be used for predicting SSC and cycle efficiency with the variation of turbine inlet pressure and MCG content. Then the third one is the decrease of MCG around 1% could affect the SSC about 0.1 ton per megawatt. Then using the current compression condition, in order to get optimum generator output metal, the inlet turbine steam pressure should be set at 9.3 bar. Using this condition, the value of the SSC and cycle efficiency will be 9.17 ton per megawatt and 10.39% respectively. The turbine inlet steam pressure set at this condition 8.6 bar as determined during operation during 2019. To obtain the SSC and frequency will be 9.3 ton per megawatt and 10.90%. This better than average SSC condition. Okay, this all from me. Thank you for the attention and goodbye.
Okay, thank you, Pak Praja, for your presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, due to we don't have a question yet from the audience, maybe I will ask you a question, Pak Praja. Pak Praja, yeah, your voice is very small, Pak Praja. Can you please?
Okay. Can you hear me, Pak Dimas?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
It's clear, Pak. Okay. My question is, what is the others parameters besides the power plant parameters to optimize the production of the power plant? For example, maybe can the operator just operate the wellhead pressure maybe, or just maintain the well, not the power plant? Because your research is focused on the power plant, right? Not the well or other facilities related the well or the steam field.
Okay, thank you, Pak Dimas, for your question. Actually, this paper is only preliminary of my research. The full research we can find in ITB library. So after we using ES to calculate performance of power plant, so we can evaluate some parameter that influence for the operation of power plant, geothermal power plant. After we evaluate, we know that some parameter, for example, turbine inlet pressure, and then environmental temperature, and also NCG or setting of the after condenser pressure is influence the overall SSC and also efficiency, Pak.
Okay, thank you, Pak Praja. Now we have one question from Pak Fernando Pasaribu, from Pertamina Geothermal Energy. The question is, when you vary inlet turbine pressure in the calculation, do you maintain constant volumetric flow at the inlet, Pak Praja? Do you get the question, or should I repeat again?
I get the question. Okay, thank you, for the question, Pak Fernando. For the research, we keep the output of the generator around 2,500 kilowatt. So when I vary the turbine net pressure, I also vary the inlet of steam. So we totally will calculate in the ES the output of power generator power is around 2.5 megawatt. So I keep attention for the output of the power, not the for the pressure and also mass flow is mixed in the ES the calculation. Yes, I vary also the mass flow, Pak.
Okay. Yeah, we hope we can discuss in two ways, Pak
Yeah, maybe we can communicate
dan ayo Pak Firanda.
in another forum maybe.
Ya, ya oke Pak Praja. Ya, you can discuss directly to Pak Fernando maybe. One more question, Pak Praja, from Dedi. I don't know what is the affiliation of Pak Dedi. The question is there any negative effect by changing the turbine inlet pressure to the turbine operation, Pak Praja?
The effect for the efficiency, efficiency is if we using lower turbine pressure, the efficiency is more getting worse. Higher the turbine pressure is better. For the operation, if the mass flow as long as keep as the turbine specification, I think is safe.
Okay. One more, Pak. I'm sorry. From Pak Mulyanto, Pertamina Geothermal Energy, based on the production monitoring data, how significant is the NCG change by the time, and how do you manage that, Pak Praja? Please give the answer.
Sorry, can you repeat, Pak Dimas, the question?
Based on the production monitoring data, how significant is the NCG change by the time? Is very high or just in the little range of NCG?
Oh, okay.
And how do you manage?
This is actually our we cannot handle the NCG output from geothermal well because we must monitor as often as well. In the Ulumbu, it is not performed. So I perform this research using not the up-to-date data. So the effect of NCG increase is actually is very high, very influence in the output of power in geothermal power station. But as I deliver in my presentation that every 1% of NCG change, there's also influence in the output of power in the generator.
So what is the maximum and minimum NCG at the Ulumbu, Pak?
In the Ulumbu equipment is designed 3% for the NCG. If over the 3%, I think it's have significant impact to the equipment, I think. So now is decrease 2.2%.
Maximum.
No, up to date. The maximum is 3%. Design is 3%.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's answer the Pak Mulyanto question. Okay, Pak Praja, thank you very much. Because our time is up, I should end this discussion. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Pak Dimas.
Yeah, and again, we will give you a memento for appreciation. The committee will contact you, Pak Praja. Okay, thank you, Pak Praja. I will give you applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Praja. See you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue to the next presentation, last presentation for today, there will be a video from PT Pelumpang Raya Anugrah. Please enjoy the video. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we can jump to the last presentation for today. We start by a woman, and now we will end it by woman again. The last presentation will be delivered by Bu Mona Natalia Siahaan. Bu Mona is from Medco Geothermal Sarula. She will present her research related to scaling problem, especially in Sarula geothermal field. If you're ready, Bu Mona, you can start your presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Mona. I am a geochemist in Sarula. Hope you are well during this pandemic. Today I will present my paper with title Scaling into Phase Pipeline, Case Study Sarula Geothermal Field. First, I would like to acknowledge Muhammad Andika, Sahat Brutu, and Alexander Smith as my co-authors in this paper. This is the outline of my presentation. I divide this presentation into 9 parts. First, introduction of Sarula geothermal field, theory of silica scale occurred in geothermal facilities, benchmark from other fields, configuration and geochemistry of well pad in Sarula, preliminary observation, inspection of pipes, discussion, summary, and last recommendation. Sarula Operations Limited, or SOL, is a consortium that has geothermal working area in North Tapanuli, North Sumatra, and currently operating 3 power plants. Each of them has 110 megawatts with a total 330 megawatts. During the operation of facilities, there have been many challenges, including scale problem in the production wells and surface piping. In this study, it will be focused on scale deposition in two-phase piping in the upstream area. The deposition causes a significant decrease in pipe diameter and also reduces power generation within 3 months of operation. Silica scale is a common problem in geothermal fields. Based on paper from Padilla, there are some parameters that control silica deposition, such as temperature of brine, concentration of dissolved silicon dioxide in brine, reservoir temperature, brine pH and salinity, presence of cations, such as magnesium and calcium, that can flocculate silica polymers and accelerate healing. Based on brown, silica polymerization and deposition can be delayed at lower pH. As you can see at the right picture here, the monomeric silica stay higher at the lower pH rather than the neutral pH or higher pH. Other thoughts from Gallup and Hurst that metal silicate polymerize at higher temperature than amorphous silica. This is because the polymerization of amorphous silica is enhanced by the concentration of cations. The scale at two-phase piping has been experienced before at later geothermal fields, as they mix 4 production wells, 2 acidic wells, and 2 near neutral wells that has silica content above 500 ppm. The silica scale didn't occur at each of production wells or the individual wells, although well 3 has oversaturated condition. But until they combine and mix as a single header, then the pH mixture is 5, the silica scale was formed inside the collection header. This is the location of scale deposition in Sarula. Well pad A is located 2 kilometers away from the power plant. It consists of 3 production wells. All those wells, well 1, 2, and 3, are merged into the same two-phase header, 36 inches. The thicker scale started to form from the collection header or the two-phase header, and into the surface facilities, other surface facilities, which marked in the yellow line here. We need to identify first the chemistry properties in each well. The continuous observation in the subject is essential since better understanding related to the chemistry is required. For well 1 and 3, it has near neutral pH around 6, and for well 2, it has acidic pH around 2.7. Before entering the mixing point, single well 2 is treated with caustic injection with target pH 5. It is started online from October 2018, and the purpose of this caustic was to decrease the corrosion impact from acidic well. The fluid type of well 1 and 3 are chloride water, and fluid type for well 2 is chloride sulfate water. All wells are all in undersaturation condition. We noticed that there were decrease in flow rate observed in all wells in well pack A, since the well 2 was gathered online from October 2018. Since then, the two-phase flow rate in each well were decreased from 20 to 35 during 7 months operation. Then in February 2019, there was a landslide occurred near well at A that made the pipe broken. The steam and brine flow must be temporarily closed, and during this time, inspection was done by opening the pipe from the MOP in individual wells from well at A to the gathering line, and there was skill found from those surface facilities, including the two-phase gathering. This is the picture inside the MOP in each well. For well 1, it was relatively clean, and for well 2 and 3, there was minor scale inside the pipe. Then, the thicker scale started to occur at the mixing point of three wells in the two-phase headers. The thickness of the scale reached around 15 centimeters in bottom and top. It has 6 to 8 centimeter thickness in average, and it became more evenly distributed in subsequent surface facilities, include separator and accumulator. Then it was completely removed from the upstream to the downstream piping before put back online. Then, after repair for nearly 2 months, wells in well pack A put back online on April 2019. During 3 months operation until July 2019, significant reduction of flow rate and increase in wellhead pressure was developed again. Wellhead pressure increased around 40% and flow rate was decreased by 40%, which also impact on generation reduction. Therefore, other inspections are needed to observe if there was healing deposit inside the pipe. In the second event, the inspection on July 2019, from the MOV in each well, well 1 was relatively clean, well 3 had minor scale similar to the first event. And unlike the first event from well 2, there were many scales found inside the pipe too, and it covered most of the pipe. Similar to well 2, the mixing header, the mixing point, there was found a thicker scale, and it covered almost half the inside the pipe diameter. And it decreased to 8 centimeters at the downstream area before separator line. Then those scales were then taken to a third party for an analysis. For well 2, which has acidic condition, it has undersaturated condition. And based on XRD results, the scale was found in amorphous and rhodochrosite minerals. For well 3, scale was formed as amorphous rhodochrosite and tetrahedrite. Since the pH was normal, neutral, the discovery of rhodochrosite mineral here may be caused by backflow when the well was shut in. For two-phase header, when well 1 and 3 mixes with well 2 fluid, pH increase bigger than the pH in well 2. This condition enhances the precipitation of silica and other minerals, when in individual wells, the low pH of well 2 held back the precipitation. Then it formed the position when the temperature of well 2 is below saturation temperature or high pH. Deposition of silica can be enhanced also by the presence of metals as cations. From XRF data, as we can see here, it was dominantly contains silica dioxide and manganese oxide. The silica is the largest one that deposited as a result of low solubility. Manganese oxide is the second largest content in scale. It can be derived from content of casing material mixed with acid production fluid or reservoir rock leach. Both of these components can cause a bond of metal silicate. In this case, scaling is in the form manganese silicate. This is possibly due to injection by the caustic soda. As I already mentioned earlier, well 2 was injected due to neutralize the acid properties. The excessive amount of injection may lead to the form of rhodochrosite mineral. Then we move to discussion. First, we need to observe the temperature, as it is an essential parameter for silica saturation index, and it should be maintained above the saturation temperature. For this case, average temperature in each well is above 180 degrees C, and all wells are in undersaturated condition. This is the simulation that we run based on flow rate ratio from well pad A. This produces pH mixture of 5.8 with assumption no caustic added. If we add caustic into well 2 and set pH to 5, we have pH mixture to 6.42, and it just increases when we set pH of well 2 higher. Then, based on metal silicate approach, in this case, we use rhodochrosite as it was discovered before from inspection. Actually, manganese is not common in geothermal. Usually, it is prevalent relative to other cations such as magnesium, calcium, iron, and aluminium. So, for total pH 6.42, it is already oversaturated at high temperature. Higher pH also increase the potential of rhodochrosite deposit. Then, pH setting at certain temperature becomes an important parameter in formation of this deposit. This is what may cause the scale to be deposited at the two-phase line. Thus, pH monitoring in the two-phase header was needed to maintain mixture pH below 6. Based on simulation, then I use geochemistry workbench here. This is the temperature and pressure saturation reference for operating in well pad A. For untreated well 2 pH 2.7, it is still safe operating above 150. For we set well 2 pH higher, the mixture pH will also get higher, and temperature and saturation pH pressure must also be set higher than in lower pH. So this is the summary of this study. that scale in two-phase header can be occurred when low pH mixed with near neutral pH well into the same header or mixing point. The scale deposition was delayed at acid well since silica saturation index is below 1 and low pH helps back the precipitation. And when it comes to two-phase header, the pH increases. Precipitate scale due to enhancement of metal as cation. And future work related to thermodynamics data should be done to ensure the formation of the metal silicate. So we can have recommendations that operating temperature must be set higher than 175 degrees C. Otherwise, scale deposition can be formed. Operating temperature must be maintained over saturation temperature. Then pH modification. Eliminating the use of caustic injection in this case that will lower the combined pH fluid of the three wells to 5.8 and it will reduce the potential of metal silicate deposition. The pH checking in the downstream two-phase header before separator must be carried out to ensure that it is already completely mixed and maintained below 6. Then other options are the addition of scale and corrosion inhibitor, since we have acidic fluid and neutral pH mixed with the acidic fluid. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, thank you, Bu Mona. Very nice sharing and presentation. I already have 5 questions, but actually maybe it's already answered in your recommendation. For example, Pak Aska from Supreme Energy, he asking about his question is, have you ever considered injecting the silica inhibitor into the pipeline? And I think it's already answered, right, Bu Mona? So I will jump to the next question from Bu Zafira from, from Nugraha Unhas. Nugraha from Unhas. The question is, if the SSE is below 1, is there any other, I think it means other cause of scale deposition? Do you get do you get the question, Bu Mana?
Oh, yes. Thank you for the question. Since the SSI is below 1, then as I mentioned before, that the metal silicates that had influence in these conditions, so that this metal silicate performed more for these conditions, and although the SS1 is still below.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Bu Mona. And the next question from Bu Ninik from ITB. The question is, what is the source of the manganese? Does the well hit sediment that may be the source of mangan? Please give the answer.
Okay. Actually, the manganese source can be from two sources that we observe here. The first is from the possibly deposit because of the reservoir rock ledge or the content of casing the content of casing material mixed with the acid production fluid. So probably it has two source from the reservoir rock leach or the from the content of material casing.
Okay. Did you conduct some kind of test that to investigate the corrosion of the casing, Bu Mona? Related to, did you conduct some kind of casing lock or well testing related to identify is it any corrosion of the casing or not? So you can conclude the.
Oh yeah, we can instead of from chemical content, we also conduct NPT thickness from in the pipe.
Then the result is corrosion.
Then the result is the thickness in the acidic fluid, especially in the acidic fluid, is getting decreased more than the neutral fluid.
Okay. Maybe one more question from Pak Juhri Saifuddin from Kyushu University. The question is manganese more likely occurs as silicate or carbonate? I think it's a short question, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For in our situation here, it is deposited in carbonate actually, but we need to conduct more observation related. Is it since we also found that in XRF that mangan oxide and also silica dioxide that also found majority in amorphous phase, that so that it might occur both it might occur both in silicate and also carbonate.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Mona. One more question from Mas Agus, Pak Agus, from Star Energy Moralabo.
Yes.
The question is, in the case of well2, it seems there is a paradox when trying to increase pH, do prevent corrosion, but will increase silica's carrying potency. Have you run a sensitivity analysis to get optimum pHA? Do you get the answer?
Yeah, if we are not injected caustic here, we got mixture pH of 5.8, which is the optimum pH that prevent the silica scale to occur. So actually our purpose for well 2 is not to have the corrosion, but we need to have other option so that the mixture of those three wells is still under saturated and still not makes silica scaling potential.
Yeah.
So for the sensitivity, just like we run in before, if we are not injected the caustic, it will be the optimum pH, and it will be the base case that will not have the silica scale in here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bu Mona. Because the committee behind me said that we still have time. One more question, yeah, Bu Mona.
Okay.
From Pak Mulyanto, Pertamina Geothermal Energy, he said, very interesting topic, and give a question. How about the concentration of mangan during production compared to the initial? What type of rock or lithology that may contribute to the high concentration of mangan in brine? Do you get the question,
Okay.
Bu Mana?
Okay. Actually, we first we prefer that manganese in our case is more from the casing leach with the acid fluid, because the manganese content here has increased more than 3 times rather than our initial production. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why we have opinion here that it might be the major cause of this increased manganese content from the leach of the content. Yes. From the casing.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Bu Mana. Very nice discussion. Hope you will success with your career and job.
Thank you, Dimas.
Okay. I inform you that we will give you a memento for our appreciation, and the committee will contact you, Bu Mana. Thank you very much. I will give you applause. Yeah, there are so many supporters behind me. Okay, before we thank you again, Bu Mana. See you soon. Before we close this paper presentation session, it will be a video from PT Kogindo. Please enjoy the video.
PT Kogindo Daya Bersama adalah perusahaan ketenaga listrikan di Indonesia yang beroperasi di seluruh wilayah Indonesia dari Sabang sampai Merauke. Kogindo didirikan pada tahun 1998 sebagai anak perusahaan PT Indonesia Power dan bagian dari PT PLN Persero. Kogindo memiliki 4 bidang usaha, yaitu suplai energi, jasa operasi dan pemeliharaan pembangkit listrik, jasa gas dan diesel engine, dan jasa maintenance, repair, overhaul, MRO. Dalam kurun waktu lebih dari 2 dekade, kami telah mengembangkan bisnis kami secara signifikan dan membangun dasar yang kokoh bagi portofolio perusahaan di level nasional maupun internasional. Kogindo menawarkan satu solusi layanan terintegrasi di bidang ketenaga listrikan melalui Kogindo Integrated Solution. Dengan menggabungkan kompetensi, teknologi dan pengalaman, kami yakin dapat membantu para pelanggan mencapai efisiensi dan keandalan pengoperasian pembangkit listrik di Indonesia dan seluruh belahan dunia. Kogindo, trusted partner for power generation.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we already at the end of this session. So I am Dimas Taha Maulana as a moderator today. Would like to thanks to all of you, the participants. See you again tomorrow, and I will give back this event to Bu Ayu as the MC. Once again, thank you very much. See you soon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye.
Thank you, Pak Dimas, for guiding us throughout the technical session. Now, before we run off the first day, there will be a photo session for all of the panelists and speaker of the day. To all moderator, speakers, and presenters, please activate your video. Don't forget your best smile. And the photo will be taken in about 3, 2, and 1. Okay, thank you to all of you. Now, day one of the series of virtual 9 ITB International Geothermal Workshop 2020 is near to end. At the moment, we would like to give our highest gratitude to Bapak Priyandaru Effendi, as Chairman of INAGA, also Executive VP of Relations and Support Services of PT Supreme Energy, also to Andrea Blair, President of IGA, and also Director of Clients and Talent of Apollo Ltd as our invited speaker, to all of the paper presenters, and also to all of you, the participants. We also thank you to our sponsor for sponsoring our event, PT Sustrako Adi Kreasi L Silver Sponsor, PT Geodipa Energy Persero S Silver Sponsor, PT Tunggal Buana Utama S Bronze Sponsor, PT Plumpang Raya Anugrah S Bronze Sponsor, PT Scientific Drilling S Bronze Sponsor, Star Energy Geothermal S Bronze Sponsor, and our other sponsors, PT Pertamina Geothermal Energy, PT Supreme Energy, PT Sarana Multi Infrastruktur, PT Depri Wangga, Kogindo Daya Bersama, Bank BNI, PT Andalan Tunas Mandiri. And to all the parties who supporting our event, International Geothermal Association, Indonesia Geothermal Association, Indonesian Association of Geologists, Think Geoenergy, Geothermal Resource Council, Mudrakpedia, Panas Bumi News, Indonesia International Geothermal Convention and Exhibition, and Rambu Energy. To all of the participants, we would like to remind you that there are still 3 days left in the series of Virtual 9 ITB International Geothermal Workshop 2020. And the workshop will start at 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. each day for Jakarta time. In particular, for tomorrow, there will be one invited speaker, Mr. Tobias Fischer, professor at University of New Mexico, and there will be 5 presenters that will be discussed about the geoscience topics. To all of you, kindly check your chat box at the Zoom and the comment section on the YouTube to get the link for today's participation certificate. Due to the limitation of time, unfortunately, not all of the presentation can be brought to you during the event. But don't worry, other presentations are accessible for you to enjoy on our website, www.workshop.geothermal.itb.ac.id/workshop 2020. Eventually, this is the time for me to say goodbye. I am Ayu Sumarta, your host for today. Thank you for your kind attention. I hope all of you still healthy and well until the pandemic is over. Hoping to meet you in the near future. Enjoy the rest of your night. Goodbye.